I'm just gonna pick one.
This is the only one where it's revolver. I'll take that one.
This one right here.
The dead body.
What? Hey everybody, this is Michael.
And I'm Tom.
And today we are going to tell you some of the most incredible horror stories that we have ever heard in real estate. We're going to read some submissions online, and then we'll also share our perspective. And make sure you stick around because there is a very juicy one that we're going to share towards the end. And if you like, go ahead and please like and subscribe. All right, baby.
All right, let's get into it. I was a first-time homebuyer purchasing a townhouse. The townhouse was from the 70s and pretty much had nothing updated at all. I knew it was a fixer-upper, however there was the oddest thing. There was a rectangle of carpet in the living room, cut all the way around to the concrete. Red flag.
Like it was like cut out with no carpet in there?
Yeah, like there was this rectangle missing. Anyway, at closing, I was about 98% done signing the mountain of paperwork when I decided to ask the seller, who came from out of town, so what's up with the rectangle of carpet being cut out at the living room? To which he replied, oh, that's where my wife rolled off the couch and died.
And she was buried there?
No, he went on to say that nobody realized she was dead for quite a while. So yeah, her body had to be cut out of the carpet to be removed from the house I had just bought.
So she like literally decomposed on the carpet and they just cut it out and didn't replace it.
I think like the weirdest thing about the story is this was his wife and she was in the house for so long.
Well, he lives out of town.
But it's not his ex-wife. He was out of town for a while and his wife just decomposed in the living room.
That is very odd about that story. Have you ever seen a dead body in an open house?
I've never like seen a dead body, but I'll share my real estate horror story at the end, so you'll have to stay tuned because it was pretty scary.
I do remember I was on a showing and this was out in Nampa and we were looking at some of these older homes and my clients really loved it. They were first-time home buyers. And we went out into the backyard and there was a gravestone in the backyard with like someone's name on it. And what I realized after that is that in the state of Idaho, you don't actually have to disclose. As a real estate agent, like you have to let the state know if you're burying dead bodies. But as a real estate agent, like as a listing agent, you don't have to say if any bodies were buried.
Which in other states it is required. It's not uncommon when a home is being staged to like, let's put a rug there or so, you know, you gotta like really look around.
It's really important during the walkthrough to make sure that the staging has been removed because my clients bought a house and it was beautifully staged and there was a plate of cookies on the kitchen. We went to go to closing and the plate was gone. There was a big burn ring on the countertop that was covered up by the cookie tray.
I mean, when she first toured this 70s home with a 3x6 cutout in the living room, I wonder why she didn't ask like, hey, that's weird.
I've learned as a realtor is that everybody has different taste in homes. So like what I like is not necessarily what somebody else likes, and things that I don't like or might be worried about, other people kind of glance over. I've learned to not give my opinion right away and to sort of just be there to facilitate the showing and kind of point things out as I see them.
And then she was there for long enough because her husband was on vacation or something that they just took a box cutter and cut it and just rolled her up.
Put it on the market.
And put a sale sign in the yard.
And they sold it.
That must have been pretty awkward.
Okay, so this is an agent named Rob Titus, and he says, I had made arrangements for my buyer to view a home. The seller was going to let us in if he was home. Otherwise, I was able to use the Supra lockbox and get the key and let us in. I rang the doorbell and waited and rang again. Okay, the seller isn't home. I got the key and I let us in. The home had 2 wings, luckily for me. The buyers went left to the kitchen and the family room wing. I went to the right to turn on the lights in the bedroom. Then I saw the owner, passed out, naked, on his bed. At least I hoped he had just passed out and wasn't dead. I ushered my clients out of the home quickly as I didn't want to be scarred for life for either seeing the naked guy or worse, seeing the dead naked guy. Then I headed back to make sure he was okay.
And he was okay.
Didn't say.
Oh my God.
I remember I was showing a really seedy home in Boise, and like it was really dark in the house, and it was one of these houses where they'd done a lot of add-ons. Like it was sort of like one of those scary dolls that has all different parts. That's how the house felt. And I was going in and I was ahead of my clients and I was turning on lights because that's 90% of our job is just turning on and off light switches.
Oh, come on.
And I was kind of getting settled as we were going into the house. And then finally, I went into one of the rooms and I flicked on the light and there was a guy sitting on the bed looking directly at me. Like not doing anything, just staring at me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He was like, it's fine. I was like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna... And I closed the door. It was so creepy.
That shit happens though. I did a showing once and we opened the door and the clients are kind of looking around and then you see this homeowner like skid across the basement in a towel and you're like, oh!
Yeah.
I have a horror story where I was showing property in Minnesota and my clients were looking for a project. We're looking for multifamily in an area that, you know, was like a little bit more rough around the edges. And so we go into this place and it was already so kind of just sketchy feeling. And oftentimes when you're showing multifamily and the seller's not living there, they're rented, you know, renters just don't have the same level of commitment to
selling the house.
Yeah. So it was one of those situations and we're like opening different units and we get into one of the units. It was like kind of similar, like pitch black. And we're looking around and then this dude just was like, oh, hey, and said something. Apparently he was blind, doesn't need lights.
Oh.
And it was just like kind of dark and we literally jumped out of our skin. It was because it was already so creepy. Like,
was this the same client that you showed a house with a burning car in the front yard?
I think maybe, but
that story was creepy.
There are parts of like Minneapolis, you know, where it's a little bit more like rough around the edges. And we did a tour and the front door was creaked open and there was a car on fire in the front yard. And I just pulled up and I was like, yeah, you go ahead to my client, like if you feel comfortable. But like the door was open. And so for a security purpose, I'm like, it should have been locked. I'm not gonna go in. You know, I think Idaho's a little different because you'll see signs that say, due to the rising cost of ammunition, there will be no warning shot. And, you know, I've done very little door knocking, but like that feeling of like walking up to someone's front step when you just don't know if they're waiting on the other side of the door. So it's, you know, it's rough out there.
Yeah, being a realtor can be kind of scary. I can't imagine like being a woman too. I feel like it's probably much scarier. But I don't know if I ever told you this, but I was showing some clients of mine some houses and they always brought their kids and their kids were sweet, but very rambunctious. Like they just run around moving, staging stuff. And like, I'm not going to tell the kids not to do anything. I was waiting for the parents to do it, but they were all very sweet. And I remember we went to this showing and one of the little girls went to their bathroom and she had a big number 2. But the water had been turned off at the house. And so we were unable to flush her number 2 and there was no toilet paper for her to wash. She took one of the staging towels, got it wet and took care of business and then put it back. Yeah, that was kind of like, I didn't really.
I mean, that is a real thing when you're on showings, you know, I mean.
Plan accordingly. If you got a potty, you got to make sure the house has water.
I mean, definitely if it's going to be a number 2, that's a different story. To the topic of safety in showings, I mean, that's a very real thing. I would say more and more now, you know, and I think for us gays, like showing, you might get either like gay bashed by someone, or it could be the opposite where there's someone that's just like wanting to spend time with you and it's like kind of creepy. And there was one client who I've gotten more intentional about pre-qualifying folks, and so I had done this with this individual. So they were who they said they were, and they had finances and the pre-approval to shop. So of course, doing my job, showing homes to them, and just got like the creepiest vibes. And I feel like for the first time was aware of what it must be like to be like a woman showing, or just being anyone that's kind of in a vulnerable population, because I just kept myself close to the door. Like I'd let him look around and just would not let him get between the door. I mean, I'm 6'2" and I'm a 200-pounder, so like not super freaked out.
Scrappy.
Yeah, like I could probably get myself out of this situation, and so still was very conscious of like, yeah, here you go, like opened it up and like let him look around while I stayed by the exit. And as we approach cooler season and it gets darker earlier, there's a real concern for like women too, of just like, don't go meet this random lead at an empty home on an acre in the middle of nowhere, especially here.
I mean, it's like part of the job too, especially when you get started, is like, Yeah, you're looking for anybody who would want to work with you. You go off,
Yeah.
you follow up with online leads, like so much spam and crap out there. And like, I think that's what's kind of like realtors get a bad rap, but also there's a part of the job where it's just like really, really hard. And you're just trying so hard to get your first client. And like some people will take advantage of that. We really hope you enjoyed some of our horror stories today. I think in the future, we're actually going to bring in some of our title and lenders to tell you some other horror stories. Because we had someone come into the office yesterday who shared something pretty amazing about a missing husband.
Yeah, I mean, in real estate, we're basically just problem solvers. You know, we're working to get a property closed, and
problems just like come out of nowhere.
Every
Craziest
situation,
shit.
There's like a new problem that you're hired to solve.
I know.
In theory, it's so straightforward, but then, yeah, you do a showing and there's a 3x6 cement square, and then you go to closing and the seller says, that's where my wife just keeled over.
And in the future, you'll know.
You'll know to ask the question. So
thank you all so much for watching. If you made it all the way through and you hit a comment of something with our names in it, we are going to send you a $20 gift card.
in this economy.
Yes.
Let me borrow $20.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.
Bye.